There's a kind of tiredness that sleep can't fix. It's not about exhaustion from work or the lack of rest. It's the quiet, invisible fatigue that comes from carrying a life that doesn't feel entirely yours. The kind of tiredness that makes you stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering what exactly went wrong. When did living become something to endure rather than experience? We live in a world obsessed with noise, achievement, productivity, self-improvement, endless motion. Yet, beneath all of that movement, there's a silent epidemic. People who feel utterly tired of existing, not suicidal, not necessarily depressed in the clinical sense, but simply weary of pretending, of repeating the same routines, of chasing meaning that always seems to slip away just when they think they've found it. This isn't a new phenomenon. Philosophers have been wrestling with this question for centuries. What does it mean to be alive when existence itself feels heavy, when every morning feels like a continuation of something you didn't sign up for? Albert Camus called it the absurd, the confrontation between our desperate need for meaning and the universe's cold silence. He said, "There is but one truly serious philosophical problem, and that is suicide." But Camus didn't mean that as a call to end life. He meant that once we face the absurd, once we realize that life offers no inherent purpose, we're forced to decide, do we surrender to despair, or do we live in spite of it? For those who are tired of existing, this is the psychological crossroad they quietly stand at every day. It's not about dying. It's about wondering how to keep living. To understand this kind of tiredness, we have to go deeper than symptoms, because it doesn't begin in a single moment. It grows slowly, like fog. It begins when you start noticing that nothing really excites you anymore. The songs you once loved, the people you once longed for, even the dreams that used to keep you awake, all start to feel distant, flat, like echoes of a life that belonged to someone else. And that's because the mind, in its attempt to protect you, starts numbing itself. When we experience too much disappointment, too much emotional noise, too much failure or rejection, the psyche quietly shuts down certain parts of us. It's a defense mechanism, apathy as armor. But the cost of this protection is steep. You lose not just pain, but passion. You lose curiosity. You stop asking why and start settling for whatever. Soon, existing becomes mechanical. Wake up, perform, survive, repeat, and you begin to feel like a ghost haunting your own life. Psychologically, this state is deeply tied to existential fatigue, a term used to describe the exhaustion that comes from living without a sense of purpose or coherence. It's the mind's way of saying, "I've lost the thread." Viktor Frankl, the psychiatrist who survived Nazi concentration camps, said that people can endure almost any how if they have a why. But when the why dissolves, when the story you tell yourself about your life stops making sense, the soul begins to disintegrate. We often mistake this for laziness or lack of motivation, but in truth, it's more profound. It's not that the person doesn't want to live. It's that they can't find a version of life that feels worth living. And here's the paradox. Society keeps telling them to fix themselves, to work harder, stay positive, meditate, hustle, heal, reinvent. But what if the problem isn't inside them at all? What if the world itself is exhausting, We live in an age of constant stimulation. Every second, our minds are bombarded with images of people living better lives, wealthier, happier, more successful, more awake. The human psyche wasn't built to process this kind of comparison at such scale. And so, quietly, a fracture begins to form between who we are and who we think we should be. That gap, the endless distance between our real self and our ideal self, is where existential exhaustion breeds. It's the pressure to always be becoming, never simply being. It's the fatigue of pretending that everything is fine when you can't even remember what fine feels like. It's smiling for photos while your inner world feels hollow. And maybe, most painfully, it's realizing that no one really sees you. They see your performance, they see your survival, but not you. Philosophically, this kind of tiredness reveals a deeper truth about human existence, that perhaps meaning isn't something to be found, it's something to be made. When Nietzsche declared that God is dead, he wasn't celebrating, he was warning. He meant that the old systems of meaning, religion, morality, tradition, had collapsed, leaving humanity to create its own purpose in an indifferent universe. But that freedom is heavy, because when meaning is no longer given, it must be built, piece by piece, day by day, through choices, values, and acts of creation. And that's what makes existence tiring. It's not just the physical act of living, but the emotional labor of continuously constructing a reason to live. Every day, we must reconcile the chaos of life with our need for order. We must face suffering without guarantee of reward. We must love people knowing they will leave, create things knowing they will fade, and keep moving forward, even when the destination disappears into fog. No wonder we're tired. But here's where philosophy offers something more than diagnosis. It offers defiance. Camus said that the only way to confront the absurd is through rebellion, not by escaping life, but by embracing it without illusion, by saying, yes, life is meaningless, and yet I choose to live. That act of choosing is powerful. It transforms existence from a passive endurance into conscious defiance. You stop waiting for meaning to appear and start creating small fragments of it, in art, in love, in kindness, in simple moments of honesty, because sometimes the most radical act isn't changing the world. It's continuing to show up in it authentically, even when you're tired. But let's not romanticize it. There are days when getting out of bed feels like lifting a mountain, when the thought of another conversation, another responsibility, another sunrise feels unbearable. Those moments are real, and they matter. The psychology of those who are tired of existing isn't weakness. It's sensitivity. It's the mark of someone who feels too deeply, who sees too much, someone who recognizes the weight of living in a world that demands constant strength, but rarely offers understanding. In fact, sometimes this tiredness is a sign of awakening, because only when the illusion collapses, the illusion that life must always be exciting, purposeful, or productive, do we begin to encounter life as it truly is, fragile, fleeting, unfinished, human. And maybe that's where healing begins, not in escaping the fatigue, but in befriending it, in seeing it not as an enemy, but as a message that something inside you is asking for gentleness, not correction. So what does one do when tired of existing? Maybe nothing. Maybe the answer isn't in doing, but in allowing. Allow yourself to rest without guilt. Allow silence to exist without rushing to fill it. Allow yourself to stop performing, even if just for a while. Because sometimes the soul doesn't need a revolution. It just needs permission to stop pretending. You see, existence itself is not meant to be solved. It's meant to be felt. And the people who are tired of existing aren't broken. They are simply exhausted by the weight of feeling everything so deeply in a world that rarely feels back. But still, somewhere beneath all that fatigue, there is a quiet pulse, a faint but stubborn will to continue, the will that says, even if I don't know why, I'll stay. I'll see what happens next. And that simple decision to stay is the most human thing of all, because it means that even in your exhaustion, you are still reaching toward life. There's a moment in every tired soul's journey when they realize something profound, that maybe the point isn't to escape existence, but to soften into it, to stop expecting it, to feel like a grand adventure, and accept that sometimes it's just about small mercies, the warmth of sunlight through a window, the sound of rain at night, the brief comfort of knowing someone understands. When you start noticing these small things again, you realize that existence, even when tired, still contains traces of beauty, and maybe that's enough. So if you're one of those people who feels tired of existing, don't rush to fix yourself. You are not a malfunction in need of repair. You are being caught in the delicate tension between despair and wonder, and that is the most human place to be. One day, perhaps soon, you'll look back and realize that even your weariness was a kind of faith, because you kept living even when life made no sense, and that is what gives existence its quiet grace. Tell me, when was the last time you felt alive? Not because life was perfect, but because you allowed yourself to simply be in it. Share your thoughts in the comments. Maybe, together, we can remind each other that even tired souls still belong to the story of life, and that is enough.